Okay, let's get started. Tanya for today is Tuesday, 19th of Tammuz, July 15th. So this is a very famous Tanya because it has a very vivid imagery of this idea. So we talked before that the soul is coming from the breath of God, meaning the soul is kind of coming from the name of Yud Kei Vav Kei. It depicts the name Yud Kei Vav Kei. It's like an inner breath of Hashem blown into the person. Really Hashem's most innermost energy going to the human being. And therefore, when a person sins, they're essentially taking their inner breath of God and they're latching it on to the other side, the klipos. And we have free choice.
What do you mean the other side? I forgot.
The term for klipa, for the realm, the term for the realm of unholiness in the Zohar in Kabbalah is a couple of names. One is klipa, which means the husk, reflecting that every bit of impurity and evil is essentially a husk covering over stuff, covering over the inner good. It's hiding the inner good. And then you have the other name of the force of evil, which is interchangeable. It's called Sitra Achra in Aramaic, this other side, because what's other? Either it's God-centric or it's other-centric. And if it's other-centric, then it's the other side. And you have choice. Do you want to derive your holiness, your life? Do you want your conscious life to be a conduit for the side of holiness, for God, from God, to being God's purity? Or do you want to get your direct flow of existence by submitting to the unholiness, the other side? That's the choice of life. And the parable, he now is going back to the verse we mentioned earlier that says in Devarim, in the book of Devarim, that Yaakov chevel nachalasai, that Jacob literally means the Yaakov's portion. Yaakov is a God's portion, it's God's allotment, is the portion of God. But another way of translating it is chevel also means a rope. Yaakov, the Jews, the children of Jacob, are like a cord to God. What does it mean, like a cord to God? So it says, like imagine a rope, a cord with a lot of strands, and it's going from the human being up to the human being's source, which we said is ultimately is God's inner breath, is the name Yud Kei Vav Kei, meaning God. So, very high level of Hashem's manifestation. And if you pull, so that's it. You are like bound up to the core with a rope to Hashem. And if you pull the rope down here, it of course has an effect in the source where the rope is attached to as well, and vice versa. So therefore, a person, when we choose in our life, and this is pointing out, a Jew, no matter what he does, even the most wicked, the most rebellious, is always connected. Rabbi Steinsaltz gives a parable, gives a imagery of it's like a garden hose that's on, right? You can choose where to water it. You're going to do it to the good stuff, to the bad stuff. The Jew's cord is always connected to Hashem. But your actions, if you're going to kind of make that connection go through a lot of unholiness, because that's the free choice possibility, then you're sullying, you're damaging, you're hurting kind of the higher connection, Hashem's connection to you, which is in a way hurting Hashem's bigger plan. And this is an interesting point, Alan, you mentioned this yesterday, that if God forbid a Jew, makes a mistake and chooses to, choose to live a life of, by the animal soul, by doing by living a life that's sinful, so to speak, right? So
Right.
what's interesting is you are, as we say, you are actually, in addition that you're hurting your neshama and you're hurting the neshama's higher source in Hashem. Also, it's interesting, you are giving life to the force of unholiness. How does evil exist? We said evil does not have intrinsic existence. Evil only exists because it's a means to an end, right? To have a contrast of good and bad, right? I mean, evil is much more of it's less intrinsically existing. It's just a means to have Hashem's plan of, good overcoming the bad, or so to speak. In many ways of that. So, but a person sins, you're essentially giving life to the evil.
Boy.
You're giving it more life than it deserves. Because really it should be like a loser option that you don't choose. But if you choose it, you're giving it a little more prestige. Oh, this is a little bit more, of a mitzios, of a real, a pretend real existence, And interesting, because the person who's sinning is giving life to the realm of unholiness. The person that does that initially is going to get some throwback, some goodies from the side of unholiness. Why? Think about it. It says, example, like a parasite or a virus. A parasite is not trying to kill the host. On the contrary, once the host dies, the parasite dies. But the parasite needs the host to exist. So it's sucking like a leech, right? Or like a tick. It's sucking the blood from the host, because that's what needs to exist. So actually, the parasite doesn't hate the host; it loves the host, but it loves it too much that it infects it.
Right.
So too, the klipa is like a parasite to the sinner. The sinner, it needs the sinner to have existence, and it's sucking out. And to keep this kind of process going, it'll give, let's say, wealth or temporary gain to the sinner. And this is will suffice for those to understand. The Alter Rebbe does not want to get into. There's not a Musar Sefer. There's not a book of like Musar where it's telling you how bad it is and don't be a parasite, don't be a host of the parasite. He's even the basic idea because he's trying to explain to you how tshuva works and move on. And the rest, go look up in other places. Later in Tanya, in Igeres HaKodesh, chapter 25, it talks about it more. And then you see, he points out some interesting stuff that this is why it says in Pirkei Avos, Ein biyadenu lo mishavos rashayim. We don't understand the prospering of the wicked, right? Saying we don't really understand everything. But he says you can actually, everything in Torah and Mishnah is precise. So the quotation, it literally doesn't, we don't understand, means loy biyadenu. It's not in our hands. Like literally, it's not in our grasp why the wicked might prosper. Like the wicked are prospering, and it says you do bad, you get punished. Why are they not punished? We don't understand God's calculations, across time and space. But the language in Hebrew is loy biyadenu. It's not in our hands, meaning it's not in our hands. Meaning in the time of the Pirkei Avos, when it was written, was after the destruction of the temple, I think, guessing. In a time of our hands, when we're kind of like surviving in exile, we don't understand why the wicked will prosper, which comes about because they're giving energy to the unholiness and then it's giving them back something. That's specifically in the time of exile, when the Shekhinah is the God's Shekhinah is in exile, where everything is kind of more coming through. We said either klipas noiga. We said even on a regular day, things come about through klipas noiga, which is the translucent klipa, which has some good and some bad, or through the hosts, the supernal hosts of all the nations of the world. So we're in a much more compromised situation. However, all is not lost. When a sinner repents appropriately, so this is actually probably what the Rebbe was thinking with why tshuva is so. Now the Rebbe just ran with it. Why everything's about doing tshuva. We said, right? Jonathan Sachs quoted Diane Abramsky, and Chabad tshuva is the gas. It's all about tshuva. Everything's about tshuva. Tshuva it's all because what's happening? Golus is there's an initial upper hand to klipa, and what's the goal? That we take it and we say, "You look like you're in control. We're going to use it. You're going to take our sin and make more hiding on Hashem. We're going to actually take our sin and trick you by doing tshuva and bring everything back to Hashem." And that's what we said. The lower hay in Kabbalah, the last hay of the Yud Kei Vav Kei, it falls, and we have to return it. Tshuva, the lower tshuva, is to return the tshuva back to God. And along with that tshuva comes all the sins and all the energy that was misappropriated, and it's all going to come back to Hashem with full force. And that's why he's just quoting more and more psukim where you think this is like some Chabad, trick. This is all in basic Judaism. He quotes the verses as Hashem is going to come back from exile. What do you mean Hashem? Hashem's in exile. We're in exile. Yeah, because Hashem is in exile. Hashem Shekhinah is in exile. And when we do tshuva, we bring Hashem's energy back with some interest.
Wow.
Okay, that's for Tanya. Now for Chumash. This is a pretty important part of Tanya, I would say. It's pretty fundamental, prevalent, teaching that's used for a lot of the Chabad houses and stuff. When a Jew in Honeyay Falls, does a lights a menorah, it's not just the lighting of menorah. They're they bring generations of klipa, and they're bringing it back, and they're saying the darkness is becoming light. It's a pretty powerful thing.
Powerful.
Okay, Nun Beis, page 23. By Davish Shalom Moshe said the Moshe saying, Nun Gimel 53, Le'ela techalak aretz benach l'mispar eshemais. To these enumerated ones shall the land be divided out as inherited property by the number of names. So now we're going to talk about today. We finished yesterday the census, right? The Jews are poised to go into the land of Israel, and we did a census, okay, final census of Moshe. Now we're going to talk about how they're going to, instructions for upon entry, they're going to divide the land. So in Yun Gimel and Rashi, to these shall the land be divided out. It says, not to those less than 20 years old, even though they reached the age of 20 before the division of the land, because for 7 years they conquered the land, another 7 years they divided it. Rather, only the original 601,000 that went in took a portion of the land. And if one of them had 6 sons under 20, they took together only one portion of their father. So basically what it's saying is that you have to read a bunch of the Rashis to get the picture. And we have also the Uzdain edition of Chumash for those that the Kahas, affectionately known as the Uzdain edition of Chumash. Okay, so you have to read it to really. If you read it, we'll get to it. We're going to piece it together after the fact. All right, so continue on. So step 1 is who's getting a piece of portion is the people who entered the land at this time, who are over 20. Nundal, the Rav Taber Nachalosei, for the tribe that has many. For the tribe that has many, you shall increase its portion of heritable property. And for the tribe that is few, you shall reduce its portion of heritable property. Ish lefi fukudav, every tribe according to its counting. Yuta nachalasai will be given every man according to his counting, every tribe according to his counting, will be given its portion. So it sounds like if you have a lot, you get more land. You have a smaller population, you get less land. Rashi. A more populous nation got a bigger portion. Now, even though the portions were not equal, because we say tribe has a large population, and although the portions were not equal, since they're all divided according to the size of the tribe, nevertheless it was done only by means of a lot. So there's a bunch of contradictory elements here of how to give the land. So it sounds like it goes literally by need, by amount of people per tribe get this certain amount. Then it says it's also going through a lottery. A lottery is not logical, rational apportioning. It's a lottery. But it was both. Because the lottery actually was miraculous. It was by Ruach HaKodesh, Kamesh Mefurish B'Bava Basra, Elazar HaKoyin HaMelubash V'Odim V'Tumim V'Ayim Ruach HaKodesh, Shepleni Elam Tchum Pleni Elimai. So actually, so again, you have to read a little more to get the whole picture, but right now, it was a mixture of rationale, bigger population gets bigger portion, but also it was validated and verified by the high Elazar, the high priest at the time, would say before he picked out the lottery, or I don't know if he picked it out. I think he picked it out. Maybe someone else. So whoever picked it out, Elazar would say, "Here's what's going to happen. This tribe is going to get apportioned in a minute with the lottery by this tribe," and that is exactly what happened.
Wow.
So it was both logical and also proven to be by divine spirit. We're not done yet. Page 24. The tribes were inscribed in 12 slips of parchment and 12 regions on another 12 slips. So the way a lottery worked, you have two ticket baskets, and one has the portions, one has the names. You pick two at once, and this goes to this. They would mixed in a box. The nasi. So I guess each tribe's leader would put their hand in. Did not know that the nasi did it, and he would take out. Okay, go pick one. Pick this. Pick that. And a miracle would happen that his name would be picked out, which is in general a miracle that the nasi. They slipped it out. I wonder if there's argument of Rashi's text. No.
What do you question?
They're just not translating it that the Nasi is the one. Yeah, each prince of each tribe came up. So imagine the statistics here, right? The princes come. Let's say of Zevulun. He comes and he picks Zevulun. He picks the Zevulun paper.
Wow.
And then he picks the portion of land. And it turns out exactly the land that Elazar predicted he's going to pick out. And not only that, it gets better. There's more miracles. The goyro, the lottery box itself, the ticket, it sounds like the ticket, would speak. There'd be the talking ticket. I, Lot, have come up for such a region, for such a tribe. As it says, al pi goyro, not by the it could have said al hagoyro, al pi, by the mouth of the goyro. It says, a miracle. It spoke.
Wow.
Kind of like the talking hats from Harry Potter.
I was going to say that, but I didn't want to mix the profane with the holy.
Okay.
But you said it, so it's on your account. I have my own account. I have my own tab. The land was not divided by size, because there's some regions are better quality than others. Ella b'shuma, rather by evaluation. Base kara can base sartayv. A bad quality base core could correspond to a good quality base sa, all according to the value of the land.
The previous sentence in the text suggests to me that the regions could be chosen and then expanded or contracted based on the tribe, but that's not what the way it's being explained. But that's when you say the tribe has, you shall increase its portion for the tribe that has many and decrease. That suggests to me that there's maybe some adjustment going on after they're given a region. You know, they could be given regions, and then those sizes within those regions could be expanded.
What's the point of a lottery then? What's the point of a lottery?
Yeah.
Anyways, so now let's finish up. The land was not divided by about populations getting, it wasn't only size, it was about land quality.
Right.
Because, an arid land that does, could be big, but it doesn't produce food for enough people, right? So it had to be about quality of land. So it was by valuation, base karak and base sotev. A bad quality base core could correspond to a good quality base saw, all according to the value of the land. So that's how it goes. Okay, nun hey. Continuing, nun hey. Ach begoidol. However, the land by lottery, the land should be divided. They shall receive their property according to the names of their fathers' tribes. By the names of others. Okay, now what's talking about here? So the details we know till now is like this. Who's getting land? The 600,000 people that are 20 years old, they're considered a family head. They get their own portion, right? Anybody born later, they're under their father's area. Okay. So once we understand that, and we said it comes about, where's the land? So first of all, let's talk about each tribe. It's through the lottery, through the prediction of the high priest, through the divine spirit, and it says it's going to be this area. Okay, but now how do you give each person their amount? How do you divide it up? So here's how you divide up the families in each tribe. According to the names of their fathers' tribes. The fathers here means those who went out of Egypt, which they're not alive right now. The Torah is changing this inheritance from typical inheritance. Typically, inheritance is very simple. The living inherit the dead. Here, the dead inherit the living. What does that mean? What does mean the dead inherit the living? Imagine two brothers who left Egypt, and they had sons, and they died over the 40 years, and they enter the land. They enter the land. So, I'm sorry. You have two brothers, Reuven and Shimon, who died. They came out of Egypt, and they had sons, cousins. And let's say Reuven had one kid, and Shimon had three kids. And they're the ones who are now poised to go into the land of Israel. So what happens is that it's a bit of math. So again, there's two there's two original fathers, and there's three cousins in one and one in the other. And so, they're going to the land. Three cousins, they get three portions. That's nice. And the other one gets one. But we're not done yet. Then so again, let's say the tribe of Zevulun. You have a bunch of families. Who's considered a household head? Those men that are 20 and older, they get it. Okay. So let's say, but it doesn't end there. So let's say the Smith family, Smithovich family. The Smithovich family has two lines. One has one son, and one has two Smithovich brothers, and one had one son, one had three sons who were going to land. So that collective family has got to get 4 portions, but you don't give the 3 to the Smithovich brother 2 and give 1 to Smithovich cousin 1. You take the 4, and then it goes back to the patriarchs who are dead, the original 2 lines of the house, and then it's redivided amongst the cousins. So it comes out that it's not, even though one has 3 and one has 1, actually the family line who has 1 gets 2 portions, and the one who has 3 also gets 2 portions. That's the math. It's a mixture of who's there now at the entry of the land, count all those family heads. That's the sum number of all the portions that go to this clan. Then you take that portion, you go back to the original patriarchs who left Egypt, who are dead. And you say, okay, now it's divided equally among them for their progeny. And it goes back, ends up being not 1 per poised family to go in. It's based on their father. And you might say this is foul play, but there's actually some benefit here that if it would only go by the ones who left Egypt, then they'd only 2 portions. At least they get 4, they have to reapportion. You know what I'm saying? So I hope that was clear, but that's how it worked. However, by means of a lot, everybody got by means of a lot besides the portion of Joshua and Kalev. And so it says, we say clear and Shaftim, Moshe said to give Kalev Chevron. And according to some instructions, they gave the city he requested, Yeshua requested. Okay. Ach is when it says, every time it says the word ach, it's excluding something that's not mentioned. So that's what it's going to. Everybody gets by lottery, besides a couple of exceptions, which are not mentioned, which we're telling you is common in Yeshua's law. Matis Avaisim, the father's tribes, Yotzu Gadim Vavadim, this excludes proselytes and servants. Again, according by the word of the raffle shall be divided, the lottery shall be divided, his herited property, being Rav Lamot, whether the tribe is many or few. Nunvav. The lottery spoke as I explained above. This tells us that it was divided to the divine spirit. Okay. These are the Levites who were counted according to their families. The Gershoni family, the Kazi family, the Merari family. Continuing on, it's a little bit long, not too long. 26. The families of Levi were the Livni family, the Chavrani family, the Machli family, the Mushi family, the Karchi family, and Kahas fathered Amram. Nimches Rashi, Eila Mishpachas Levi, Chaser Kam Mishpachas Hashimi, Vayzeli, Ksas Minah Yitzari. Missing here are the Shimi and Uzieli families and some of the Yitzari family. We said earlier, remember we spoke about there was a civil war towards the end. Some wanted to go back to Egypt, whatever, and Levi's fought them, and some died on both sides. Nonetheless, Amram's wife was Yocheved Bas Levi, Levi, Mitzrayim, who lived in Egypt. As we said, Yocheved was born to live in Egypt. I tell Amram, and she bore to Amram as Aram as Moshe, as Miriam Achisam, Aaron Moshe and Miriam, their sister. Rashi, Ashel Levi Mitzrayim, whom she bore to Levi, Ish Yilat Mitzrayim, Leidas Mitzrayim, in Eras Mitzrayim. So why is it saying she was born in Egypt? She was born in Egypt, but she was conceived in Israel. Because she was born when they went through the Ellis Island of Egypt, the gates.
Where is this? Where do you see that?
This is Rashi Nun Tes.
Nun Tes.
And you need to say this because Yocheved is number 70, because besides Sarah, there's only 69. In Rashi over there, it discusses it. See Rashi ad loc. Okay, Samach. And to Aaron was born Nadav Naviyu, Eselazav Samar, Lazar Samar, Samach Aleph, Yamas Nadav Naviyu, Bakrim Eshad of Hashem. Nadav Naviyu died when they offered unauthorized fire for Hashem.
So now they're saying that, let me just understand this. I've heard this many times, and I just want to, so you're saying that Yocheved was the one who made 70 somehow.
Exactly.
Because her soul was conceived before they got to in Israel, before they went to Mitzrayim.
Exactly.
Okay.
The Torah speaks here that she was born in Egypt. Didn't tell, why is that important to know? It's saying that she was born there but not conceived there. That's why she comes as part of the original 70. All right.
Okay. All right. That's one. I've heard another explanation which involved someone else, I think, but this is the one I'm going to go with. Okay.
Okay. Samach Beis, the counting of Levi was 23,000 every male, 1 month and older. For the rest of the children of Israel, they were not counted amongst the other census of the children of Israel. For they, why didn't they get with everybody else? Because they did not get a portion. Everybody else's census was ultimately to know how to portion land, but the Levites don't get inherited land. Rashi, they were not counted amongst the Israelites to be counted in that census style, which was 20 years and older. Why? Because they didn't get a portion. And only those that were counted 20, the 20 significances, they get portion of land. All right, Samach Gimel. And these are the counties of Moshe and Elazar the Kohen. This is the sense of Moshe and Elazar. Aaron has passed away. That they counted the children of Israel at the plains of Moab, Al Yarden Richai, by the river Jordan at Yerichai. And again, as they're poised to go in. Among these people, the discounted people, was none of the original counting of Moshe and Aaron years earlier. They counted the Israelites, the census, by Mount the Sinai Desert, 39 years earlier. Among these people was no man left. The men, there was no men alive. They all died out for the original Exodus people. But there was women. There's no men. There was women because the women did not get the decree of dying in the desert from the spies, because the women did not freak out and want to abandon Eretz Yisrael. They loved the land of Israel. As we see, the men said on a couple of occasions, let's retreat and go back to Egypt. We have a recording to next week's parsha of the women of Bnei Tzlafchad who really went on a limb to go give us a portion for the land. Give us a portion. Therefore, that's what Bnei Tzlafchad is going to be put very close to this parsha, because it's indicative of all the women. Aleph. Oh, it's right here. I'm sorry, this is this parsha. I take it back. I take it out. Samachei. Ki Amar Hashem lachem. For Hashem had said to them, Moshe, you'll die in the desert. No man will survive. Kim Kal ben Yefunev, Yishumenu, and only Kal ben Yeshua. All right. Aleph. The daughters of Tzlavcha.
Interesting that one is from Yehuda and one from Yosef.
Yeah.
The two Mashiachs.
Very good. Yes. The daughters of Tzlavcha, the son of Chefer, Ben Gil, the son of Gilad, Ben Machir, Ben Menashe, the son of Machir, the son of Menashe. The Mishpacha is Menashe ben Yosef. By the families of Menashe son of Yosef. These are the names of his daughters: Machla, Noya, and Chagla, Melka, Visirza. Machla, Noya, Chagla, Melka, Visirza. Okay. Alev, Mishpachais Menashe ben Yosef, of the families of Menashe son of Yosef. Why is it stated? It doesn't already say the son of Menashe. Why tell? I mean, he said he's the son of Menashe. So why do you say he's of the families of Menashe? We just said he's the son of Menashe. So the reason is to tell you that Yosef, and of all the tribes, loved the land dearly, of the land of Israel. As he said before he passed away, he told the Jews, when I'm going to die, take my bones up from here. And his granddaughters, they cherished the land. Give us a portion. This teaches you they're all righteous. Because all whose deeds and their father's deeds are kind of not specified, and tells you one. We don't know anything about the characteristics of the tribe of Yosef or Menashe. We don't know anything about them. We don't know much about any of the tribe as individual groups. The Torah goes out of its way to tell one anecdote of a descendant. This teaches you that this wasn't an anecdote random of this descendant, but they all loved the land, all the tribe of Yosef. If it would have been if the Torah takes the anecdote and specifies it as a negative, then it tells you a negative thing about a family or a tribe that we didn't know anything about. It's indicative the whole tribe was a little bit not so kosher, not so holy. Machal and Noya, the names of the daughters. Elsewhere it says the same 5 daughters and listed in the census, but it doesn't say it in the same order. Why? Because to tell you there's no pecking order. They're all holy. You can go this first, that first, they're all holy. Equally holy. Base. They stood, these women, they stood before Moshe, before Elazar, the priest, and before the princes, and the whole congregation, Pesach at the entrance of the tent of meeting, saying, Rashi, they stood before Moshe and Elazar. This tells you they only stood before them in the 40th year. This came about in the 40th year after Aaron had passed away. They stood before Moshe. Rashi says, and what does it mean? They went like to one, then the other, then the other, then the other? How's it working? So it says that no. You have to rearrange the verse and expound it. That they stood first before Elazar, actually, and then they went to Moshe. Because Moshe is the final stop of questions, that's the words of Yeshua. Abba Hanan, the son of Elazar, says, actually, they stood at all of them at once. In the Beis Medrash were Moshe and Aaron, Moshe and Elazar and the priests and the princes. They stood at one shot. So it's a machlokes of they go in order, one to one, or they one after the other, or all at one. Gimel, Avinu Meis Bamidbar. Our father died, and this is what they said. Our father died in the desert. He was not amongst the group that rallied against Hashem with Kerach's group. Ki bechete meis, rather he died because of his own sin. and he had no sons. Rashi. What are they saying? He didn't die. He wasn't amongst those rebels. Because they wanted to point out he's dying. Why did he die? He had a sin, but it wasn't as bad of the group sin. They had to say he wasn't among those that were Korach incited to complain. I'm sorry, it wasn't the sin of the complainers about the spies. It wasn't. He wasn't. He actually, against everybody else, he was not. He's one of the few guys that did not, outside the tribe of Levi, that did not get into a frenzy and listen to the spies. It's a pretty holy guy.
Mm-hmm.
He also was not amongst the Korach guys who rebelled. Rather, who were rebelling against Hashem's decision making, Aaron the high priest. Rather, he's a unique situation. Our father died for his own unique sin, and he didn't make anybody sin after him. Rabbi Akiva says, who was he? What was his own unique sin? He was the guy who collected sticks on the first Shabbos, which it says he had good intentions why he was doing that. He was trying to make an example, whatever. But it was his own unique sin. Rabbi Shimon said, he was actually he joined the small group who wanted to go up after they were decreed to go in the debt, not to go in the debt, not to go to the land. He went up to the land despite Moshe's presence, and he was killed by Amalek.
This is Akiva saying this.
Rabbi Shimon said that. Rabbi Akiva said he was the stick gatherer.
How does Akiva know this?
1 second. How does he know it? I don't know. He knows stuff. Oral tradition, deduction from context. I don't know.
And he wasn't wearing tzitzit. That's the reason.
Who? This
The
guy?
father of the 5 women.
Why you say tzitzis? Where do you get that from?
Because that's what follows the event when he was stoned.
I don't know. It doesn't say that. Maybe.
No, I'm saying it.
Yeah.
That's what prompted the mitzvah of tzitzit, I think.
Have to. Anyway, I just want to. Okay. So Dalit, Lama Yigara Shem Avinu B'Seich Mishpachtoi. Why then, if her father was a minor offender, he wasn't such a bad guy, why should his name be deprived of perpetuity? Mitech Mishpachtim, among his family, because he has no son. Give us a portion amongst our father's brothers. Rashi, why then should our father's name be deprived? We are standing in the place of sons. So if we can stand in place of if there be a son, we wouldn't get a portion. But there's no son, so we should get. But if we're not considered progeny at all, we get 0. Then let our mother perform yibum with a yavam, so that portion can stay somehow under our father's name by marrying a brother-in-law. Meaning, we have to find a mechanism how our fathers would have been given portion can go to him somehow. If we're considered at least, option B of children to get it, we should get it somehow. And if not, we're like, if girls are like literally not counted, then consider our mother childless, and she should marry a yavam, and the yavam, the second husband, get the property, and it would be somehow attributed to our father. For he has no son, for which we would infer that if he had a son, they wouldn't have demanded any. They wouldn't demand it. They knew a little bit of Torah. They knew Torah. They knew the laws that in biblical inheritance, the sons get everything. So Moshe doesn't know what to do. He brings their case before Hashem. Rashi, Rashi says, the halach was hidden from him. Moshe knew the whole Torah. How did he know what to do? Hashem hid it from him. Why? This is a punishment that he one time had language that implied that he has the answers. He said in Devarim, he says, when Yisrael, before Yisrael came, when he set up judges, anything that's too hard, bring to me. It's a little bit too much like me. Another interpretation is, another section was, this parsha was fitting to be written through Moshe, because the daughters of Tzavcha merited that it was written through them. So one is that Moshe had a small demerit, he was hidden from him. The other one is, it was just to give Tzavcha's daughters the merit that it should be written on their account, like similar to my Pesach Sheni. And we end there with his Chumash. And let's do the Mitzvah, and then we'll do the
Thank you.
our Torah. Mitzvah of Tuesday is the 141st prohibition. This is on page 144 in the Chayinu. The 141st prohibitions were forbidden from eating grain, which is Meiser Sheni. Meiser Sheni is the second tithe outside Jerusalem. 142nd prohibition is we're forbidden from drinking wine, which is Meiser Sheni, outside Jerusalem. And the 143rd prohibitions were forbidden from consuming oil, which is Meiser Sheni, outside Jerusalem. That is today's Rambam Sefer Mitzvahs. Just give me a moment. We're going to just pause and then record again.